Excitebike was released on the Famicom in 1984, and a year later was one of the launch titles for the NES in North America. You ride a motorbike along a straight track with a wide array of hazards in front of you, many of which have multiple variations, like hills, ramps, mud, and grass, just to name a few. You can ride on your own, but you'll still find yourself in a placement somewhere based on how fast you finished. Even when you race against other riders, of which there will be 3 others, you can still find yourself finishing in the teens because it's all timer based, it seems. The other riders are simply there to add another hazard, and it really is tough to get through a race unscathed because they come up quick if you're moving fast enough, and they're all over the place. Not to mention all the road hazards you have to keep in mind. But this mode is definitely more fun, while riding on your own is better served as a practice mode. The controls are great, which is important for any game, but with racing games, it's imperative. Not only is everything responsive, but there's dynamics. Like when you jump, you can adjust your balance in mid-air to change how much air you get, and it can affect your landing. Aside from that, there's also a strategic element because you get a turbo booster, which can cause you to overheat the motor if you abuse it, so you gotta play the balance game. Although you can reset the engine's temperature by driving across these arrows, which I thought were boosters when I first saw them. It can get frustrating to have to just sit there and wait a few seconds for the engine to cool down, but that's part of the incentive not to fuck up. There are 5 tracks, plus there's a track editor which lets you design your own track, which is a fucking phenomenal feature for the time, although unfortunately you can't save it because this function was made for the Famicom version. But it's still fun to have multiple players design tracks for each other, even if they're impossibly full of obstacles. There's a good reason why people remember this game fondly. It's addicting as hell, and lives up to the name Excite. The only cherry on the sundae that went missing is a 2-player mode, and it's a damn shame that there was no sequel to this game, because it sold well, and an expansion with a multiplayer mode, more tracks, the ability to save created tracks, and more obstacles would have been very welcomed, I'm sure. There was an enhanced version released in Japan called Versus Excitebike that did feature a 2-player mode, but we didn't get that over here. There wouldn't be another Excitebike game until 16 years after the original Famicom release when Excitebike 64 showed up on the Nintendo 64, but by then it was 3D and a whole different type of game. It's a shame we didn't get another 2D version. I'm sure that a Super Nintendo Excitebike would have been gold, but what are you gonna do? And that wraps up this edition of Aqualung's Game Reviews. See you next time.